There's no way one person can facilitate all of that. And that's not the kind of community we're seeking to build anyway. We want everyone to come into their full selves and to accomplish what it was we agreed to accomplish coming here to the earth, the physical earth plane. So I just want to welcome all of you and say that what you're about to embark upon, whether it is something kind of semi-familiar with you, or whether it's something that maybe you have felt within yourself for a while and really didn't know where to go to get confirmation or whatever, which has been my case, that's it's not by accident or mistake that you showed up on this call tonight. So hang in for the journey. What we'll do in the beginning of these classes and as you continue is really reconnect with the greatest power there is, and that is the ability to really commune and become one again with our ancestors, who we will also become one day, and restoring our bloodlines. So it's an amazing journey that you're about to embark upon. When you are assigned a Kareem, my suggestion would be to use them like a lifeline. Get to know your Kareem, allow them to get to know you, because the journey is unexplainable and it's unique for all of us. But whatever comes up can be addressed through what you'll be learning throughout this process. So we welcome you, I welcome you, and just say, hang in. You're in. It's for the rest of your life here on earth.
Nice. Thank you, Mimina.
Thanks, Udu.
Katali, did you want to go next?
Yay! Hey, everyone. So my name is Katali. I've been doing this I got kids in the back. So y'all gonna hear that a lot. I've been doing for a year and a half now. It's been right. So I'm going to tell y'all to brace yourselves because it's not hard work, but you're going to face challenges. It's going to cause you to go deeper within yourself. It's going to cause you to really get down deep into who you truly, truly are, and not the person that society and the trials and tribulations of your life have grown you to be. So be prepared to learn you. So if anybody is on a journey to learn who they are, to figure out who they are, then you're in the right place at the right time. You're in the right place at the right time anyway. But specifically for people trying to figure out who they are, this is it, because you're going to figure that out. You're going to love that Pandora's box, so to speak, of learning who you are. So I would say be present, be kind and loving to yourself, and be open, because all of that is going to be required to really get the fullness of this entire journey. Enjoy yourself. Ask questions. Ask questions about everything. Don't be afraid to reach out to any one of us, and just enjoy this entire journey. It's going to be one of the most rewarding things that you have ever done, and that you will probably ever do for not just yourself, but your entire family, your entire bloodline. So enjoy it, be present. I think that's it.
Thank you, Katali. Jope, what you got?
Anawula, everybody. My name is Jope. I've been studying under Chief for about, 2 or 3 years. Prior to that, I basically just been wandering the earth aimlessly, experiencing different, spiritual things, but not really having a context to put them in. So joining the art community, gave gave me that context, and it also showed me that I was not alone in this, in this journey, to discovering my purpose. And through this process, you're going to acquire a lot of knowledge, ancient knowledge that is, that some, might take for granted, that, a lot of us take for granted, things that we know that we don't know, that we do know, if you get what I'm saying. Like everybody said or suggested, don't like come in with a clear mind, like look at it as, not look at it as though, not having any expectations, just absorb everything as it is, and try not to blend what you learn in this class with what you already know, because it may not fit. Well, from my experience, it will not fit. So I would say have fun with it. You're going to learn a lot, and just be present and patient with the process. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Joe. And I guess I'm Sudo, also known as Nia, and I've been in this process for about 2 years and some also, together with Mamina and Joe. And I don't even know what I can add to what's already been said, because they've said so much. But I think the most important piece to this is to come open to things not occurring the way you expect them to things being brand new, to what you thought you knew about something not being the truth of what that something is. And that includes yourself and your whole idea of who you are to the world and who you are to your families, and, even what your family looks like. All of that during the course of this class and the class that comes is going to change. And just be very present, and know that even as you begin in this journey, and even as you may come into this journey and not know what to expect, and you may, as you start to see things begin to fall apart, just know that you're not alone on this journey. As soon as you came into this classroom, you're part of the community that is here. And whatever you think you thought about community, whatever you think you thought about the idea of having people around you or not, that's also going to change. And so I just ask that you remind yourself throughout this journey to stay open and receptive, and to also do the work. Do it because that's the only way that you're going to get your results. And do it because that's the way that you're going to be able to heal yourself and your family and your bloodline. And I guess that's all I had to say. I don't know, who else do we have? Do we have any other Kareems in the room? Ayana Pines.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to ARC. I am so excited to be taking this journey with you all. It is going to be a wonderful, wonderful ride. It's going to have its ups and what may seem like some downs, but just know that it's all working for your good and for the good of your family and your bloodline. So as I'll echo what Sudo said, just do the work and know that there's nothing ever to figure out. That is something that I've had to sit with for a long while, because I used to try to figure it out, and it doesn't work. Doing the work works. And so just keep doing the work, and more will be revealed to you, and more will unfold. And that's, it's really beautiful. So welcome. Thank you for listening to your ancestors.
Thank you, Ayana. I think we had Queen O.
I have to unmute it too. Hi,
Hey, Queen.
everybody. Hey. Hi, everybody. My name is Queen O, and I'm here to tell you that this is a unique transformational experience, literally unique to you. So I have been around, spiritual elders and diviners for a long, long time. And actually being part of the ARC community has brought it all together. All that I have been taught that I didn't even start to understand. It brought it all together to this point. So we are right here for a reason. We are right here because it's part of our destiny. So you may not have started this ARC, which is communication, part one. This is part one, communication. You may not have started this course to understand communication, to hear all of what we, the Kareems, are saying. But it will all make sense to you, right? So you enjoy your awesome experience. Don't let anybody spoil your experience for you because this is unique to you. This is the way that you will help become the full expression of yourself, the self you came here to be. So once you do the work, as was said, you're on your way, and you'll evolve more and more into who you came here to be. So enjoy the ride and have fun with it. It's not always that serious, so just have fun with it. And it's all good. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Queen. So I don't know if we have anyone else. Do we have any other Kareems? Oh, Bakiba. Hey, Ansansi, I see you too. Bakiba, you're speaking on mute if you're talking to us.
Okay, I think I got it now. Greetings, everyone. My name is Bakiba, and I am also a Kareem here in the ARC. I have been on a journey for the past few years as well, and the ride has been wonderful. Not only have I understood and understand what my purpose is, I am walking on my path, and so that is the best experience that I've had on this journey. I teach the ARC for youth with my counterpart Nani, and so if you have any of your youngsters, your youth who will want to be a part of this ARC community, then let us know so we can get them involved as well. Because being in the family, our children and are just as part of this as we are. So I'm not going to do a lot of talking. Everybody has talked enough, and y'all got the gist of it. Just welcome and glad you are a part of the community. Thank you.
Thanks, Bakiba. And Sansi, do you want to go next?
Hi guys, my name is Anzanzi. So I've been in ARC community for about a year and a half, and as most people have stated, this has definitely been an amazing journey. I would say my life probably hasn't been the same since I started. If I have any piece of advice to give, it would definitely be to not compare yourself with anyone else that's on this journey, and to just be patient. If you come from a family where you don't know a lot of your ancestors, or even like your immediate family, like me personally, just know that this whole journey is going to open that up. So don't be discouraged when you're doing exercises, or if you don't feel like you're close to your family or you know any of your ancestors, because this whole process is going to allow that connection to form. So just enjoy yourself, and don't be afraid to ask questions, because that's how you learn. So.
Thanks, Ansansi. And I don't see any other Kareem, so if any other Kareem is on. No, I don't think so. So I think we have Chief in class. Chief, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, Chief.
Hey, just give me 1 second. Just gotta do something really quick. I gotta go talk to my people real quick. Y'all keep talking. I'm doing a great job. I'll be right with you. Give me just a few moments.
Of course. So maybe some of the students wants to share, because I think we're all out of Kareems for now. Maybe some of you would like to share, you know, how you came to get on this class. Don't be shy. Or well, if you are shy, don't worry. I'm shy too. This is a really good community, so feel free to speak.
Hello,
Hi, who's that?
Vila.
Hi, Villa.
How are you?
Very well.
Everybody
How are
doing?
you?
I'm new to the community, not even a month old.
Welcome.
Thank you. I see Queen O is in the house. I just wanted to say thank you, you know, just for listening to me, but I'm ready to embark on a journey to just learn my purpose. My daughter and I are starting this journey, and I think it's just, you know, time for a pastime for us to connect with our ancestors and just begin to know what our purpose is and move forward with that. So thank you all for having me.
Thank you for showing up. And you will definitely find your purpose along the way. Just like everybody else said, you know, if it doesn't occur to you as if it happens tomorrow, just know that it will happen, and you're well on your way just by joining class. So welcome.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to share?
Hello, greetings, Circle.
Greetings.
This is Santosh Bliss. Just like to thank you for welcoming me to the Circle. I think it's been maybe like 2 or 3 months since I've been following the whole arc, you know, family and everything like that, with Chief and everything. So I'm still primarily new, and I'm just in this for like I don't know. Ever since I was, you know, ever since I was young, I always wanted to experiment with the things that I was like afraid of, you know, because you know you always sense something there, but you don't know what it is. And this Chief's teaching kind of really helped me to understand, you know, the dark side, like, you know, what's in the shadows, you know. That's all. So I just want to just use that to master self, you know. With that, who knows what comes next? So thank you very much.
Very welcome, and welcome to the ARC community.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Hi there.
My name is Michael Masters. This is my first time in the ARC community. However, this isn't my first time being exposed to indigenous knowledge. I was exposed about 4 or 5 years ago from another individual that was teaching indigenous knowledge. Prior to that, I've studied different paths dealing with the occult and things of that nature. But when I came across tradition, everything just clicked for me. So I've taken some of listened to some of Chief's discussions, and it just made even more sense to me. So here I am, and I looking forward to the journey.
Welcome to the ARC, Mike, and thanks for sharing. All right. Who wants to go next? We have all the brothers sharing in this class. Where are all the ladies?
Greetings, my name is Quinetta.
Hi, Quinetta.
This is my first time in the ARC community. Like I think Miss Asanzi said, that I came from a family that doesn't really know much about my ancestry or past family members at all. So I was following Miss Art Kathy, and she introduced me to Chief, and I just knew something clicked there, and I wanted to check out and see what I could learn and hopefully grow and get in touch with my ancestors. So thank you for having me here.
You're very welcome. All right. Monique. I see your hand raised.
It's not like that.
Monique, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. Okay, it looks like you lowered your hand. So if you're having mic trouble, maybe we can move on to another student and then move back to you. I see X Charge. I don't know who that is, so. X Charge? I don't know what phone that would be, but you got your hand raised. If you wanted to speak, go ahead.
Okay, here we go. Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, so my name is Vernelia, and what initially put me onto the class was, I don't know if any of you know the brother Chief Amachi. I was one of his students, and he passed away, and I just wanted to continue on my journey with becoming more familiar with my ancestors. And yeah, it's just like a lot of you all, I feel the calling, and it's just time. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy that this is available to us for us to just be able to grow in this.
Welcome to class.
Thank you.
All right, I think we had Alicia.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Hold on a minute. I'm just going to mute everybody, or if everybody could mute themselves who are not speaking.
So my name is Alicia. I'm fairly new to ARC, but I have been exposed. My husband actually has been a part of ARC for some time. I don't know, maybe close to a year now. And so I'm kind of familiar with some things, and I would say that what helped me to be more involved is his involvement and seeing things kind of work for him and his journey. And I wanted to see, how I could become a part and have more exposure to communicating with my ancestors. And I think what actually made it a lot more real for me is I started having more vivid dreams. I've never been one to remember my dreams. I always know I just had a dream, but I would never know what it was about when I woke up. But not too long ago, I've been starting to have dreams that have been more vivid, clear, and I remember it when I wake up in. And so it was time for me to become involved myself and kind of see what I can do to see who's communicating with me and how I can properly communicate back. And so that's mainly why I'm here. And so thank you all for having me.
Very welcome, and welcome to class. And you'll definitely find all of that and more as you continue this training with Chief and the work, really. So I see Chief. Are you ready to join us?
Yeah, I've been ready. What you talking about?
Oh, come on now, Chief.
You didn't know that? I was just waiting on y'all. See? No, but so let me say this first. Thank you for your patience. I really appreciate your patience and just allowing me to be who I am. So it takes patience for that. Because one of the things that you don't want to do, and this is everything happened perfectly, is before you leave the house, especially if you have some event coming up, you never want to go into any arena by yourself, ever. You always want to go to your people. And so you'll hear me say, my people, your people. And I say that I'm referencing all of the spirits that walk with you. And so you can tell based upon the context in which I use your people, whether I'm speaking about your ancestors or whether I'm speaking about, other spirits that walk with you, like some jinn or dwarfs, nature spirits, water spirits, something like that. So you'll know based upon the context in which I use the word. So whenever you do anything, you do not want to go in there without your people standing behind you, not in front of you, not on the side of you. They're standing behind you like an army. They got your back, so to speak. And anything that you step over, anything that is missing, you want them to be there to fill in the blanks, always. I don't care if you're getting up, just going to work, period. You get up in the morning, you talk to your people, and you basically set the context for your day. And what I mean by setting the context for your day is you let your people know what you're dealing with, or the things that you know that you're going to be dealing with for the day. And you tell them how you want to be able to navigate through whatever you're dealing with for the day, whether it's something favorable or unfavorable. You always get them to stand behind you. You always get them to whisper in your ear. You always get them to clear the pathway for you. You get them to go ahead of you before you leave the house in the morning and clear the pathway for the success of your day. So you always want to do that. And so one of the things I did, like when I heard someone call my name, and I just checked in really quick, I was not going to start this class without bringing aboard my ancestors, without bringing aboard the other spirits that I work with, so that everybody can be a part of the conversation, because this conversation is a very serious conversation. This conversation is the conversation that everybody should be having. Simply because I promise you, there's not nobody in this class or anybody that you know. So I'm going out on a limb and I'm going to say nobody that you know whose family is whole and complete. There's not anyone whose family is operating out of their greatness. I'm not talking about segments of the family. Like you may think that like your little close-knit nuclear family is operating on the highest of the high. But what about the family that you don't know? We all have family we don't know. We have no clue they exist. How are they operating? That's why this conversation is so important, because believe it or not, you are responsible for them as well. There's nothing about connecting with your ancestors. There's nothing about having a relationship with your ancestors that is self-serving at all. None of it. There's nothing self-serving about it, period. Even those of you who choose to get a shrine, an ancestral shrine, family shrine, no matter what you call it, same thing. Those of you who choose to get that shrine does not belong to you. You are the person, you are only the person who was called, who was charged with the mission of creating the shrine. That's it. That shrine is for every single member of your family. And you cannot deny them access to your shrine. I don't care how you feel about it. Your ancestors don't care how you feel about them either. You cannot deny them access, because there's nothing about tradition. There's nothing about us as a people from a cultural perspective. There's nothing about the ancestral shrine that is self-serving at all. Now, if you turn it into something self-serving, that's a violation of protocol. That's a violation of tradition to do that. Just is. So even if someone you don't like in your family, you don't care for them, because everybody in our family, we have some of them we really like, some of them we, hey, if you don't come by my house, I'm not gonna complain. We have those. Even if they come and they say, I need to talk to our people, you cannot deny them from doing that. Can't deny it. That doesn't mean that you have to strike up this beautiful conversation. It doesn't mean you have to do that at all. But you cannot deny them access, because you're basically denying them access to their greatness, or access to them being transformed. You're denying them access to their transformation, basically, is what you're doing. So nothing, and you'll hear me say this continuously, nothing you're gonna do from this day forward will be self-serving, because you have chosen to go on a mission that you've actually been sent here to fulfill. That's the only reason you're here, is to fulfill the mission. Because it's time for our families to be whole and complete. It's time for our bloodlines to be cleaned up. Because we have some stuff in our bloodlines that need to be cleaned, and everybody know that. Nobody has a bloodline that's squeaky clean at all. And the things in your bloodline that need to be cleaned up that you don't know exist. For example, to murder someone, whether it is, or let me say to kill someone, whether it is intentional or not, tarnishes your bloodline. Even if you are defending yourself, it tarnishes your bloodline. All of that stuff needs to be cleaned up. And it will impact future generations, if not. And so nobody here can say that nobody in their family has ever killed anyone. Nobody can say that. Well, you can say it, but I don't know how valid it'll be at all. Because when you think about the vastness of our family tree, It's vast. There's so many branches. And just imagine you being responsible for all of those branches. How about that? And being responsible for those branches is really easy. It's not difficult. I promise you, you talk to any of these Kareems, they'll tell you it's not difficult at all. It's just not. What you do is when you empower your ancestors, when you strengthen them, most of the work they will actually go out and do without you asking. And then the other things you need to say, hey, whoa, time out. You look over here. And the other things you have to do, you have to tell them that. So you're here to fulfill a mission. And I promise you, not one of you can say that as a child growing up, you didn't feel different. There was something pulling you away from where everybody else was being pulled. Something. And even those of you who grew up, with a Christian experience, I promise you, there were times you were sitting in church and something said in your ear, that's not, nope, not quite. That's your people talking to you, period. And so the only thing you did was you just chose, because everything is a choice. You chose to adhere to the directive that you've probably been getting for a long time. Most of you all didn't get the directive to begin the journey of truth yesterday. And what the journey of truth is becoming the full expression of who you came into this lifetime to be. Because that is the epitome of truth. That is what is undeniable. That's the thing that is unstoppable, period. And all of you are seeking truth, and that's the truth that you're seeking. It's just to be the full expression of who you came into this world as, who you came into this world, or what you came into this world to accomplish. That's all y'all want to do, whether you know it or not. Because that, whether you recognize it or not, that is the most fulfilling life to live, period. If somebody told me, this is short, it's 5 years ago, that I'll be sitting here teaching ancestry classes, I would have laughed. That would have been the funniest thing in the world to me. And those of you who know me know that I like to laugh and joke. So I would have been laughing, like hard laughing. But all I knew 5 years ago was that something was pulling me. And it was pulling so hard, I couldn't resist. That's all I knew. 5 years ago, I could barely tell you what an ancestor was. Oh, it's somebody that passed away, pretty much. Somebody in my bloodline, or maybe not in my bloodline, that passed away. That's an ancestor. That's pretty much all I probably could have told you about 5 years ago, was that. But I had no clue what lay before me when I chose to listen. I had no clue at all. But here I am. I was actually, to be honest with you, I was fine. I'm a software engineer, so that's my background. that is something I'm extremely passionate about. I love developing software. I've been doing it since I was 10. I love it. I was perfectly fine developing software. Perfectly fine. And I was perfectly fine mountain biking. I used to mountain bike race. I was perfectly fine snowboarding. I was perfectly fine rock climbing. My life was, to me, my life was great. It was full. I did everything I wanted to do. I just did it. But with all of that, thinking that my life was great, I was still unfulfilled at the end of the day. Very much so. I didn't know why I was unfulfilled, but I was unfulfilled. There was still an emptiness that existed. Because at the end of the day, the only time that I've received the most pleasure out of the software development is when I was doing it. When I wasn't doing it, nothing going on with it for me. Only time I loved mountain biking is when I was doing it. Because it was an adrenaline rush, and I was definitely addicted to adrenaline. That's for certain. But when I chose to adhere to the messages that I received, when I chose to adhere to what my ancestors were saying to me, that is when I began to experience fulfillment around the clock, like 24/7. And I don't want to make it seem like it was a smooth journey, because it wasn't at all, not close to being a smooth journey. Because I was someone who was ill-equipped to be who I was on the road to being. So I had to go through, quote unquote, an unsolicited initiation process. And what I mean by unsolicited, I didn't ask for it verbally, but I did ask for it. And because we do not have formal initiations, we have to be initiated through life. Our ancestors have to initiate us. And that initiation process can take years. And I'll tell the complete story one day. But in order for me to listen, so I say it until I start listening. It's not like I woke up one day, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to listen to my people. No. For me to sit my nasty tail down and listen, everything from my marriage, I used to be married, my business, has a very successful computer business. My all the things that I enjoyed, mountain biking and everything that gave me like an adrenaline rush, basically, I would do it. All of those things, literally, it seemed like it was overnight, but it wasn't overnight. It seemed like it was just like the rug was just snatched from up under me. And next thing I knew, I was actually staying in the spare room of one of my close friends. That is what it took for me to sit down and listen. It's not like my people weren't telling me that I could remember. They had been telling me to do a particular thing, which is just drum. They've been telling me for over 10 years. I didn't bit more listen. I didn't have anything against African drumming. I loved it, but my life was full. I didn't want to make time for that. And they said, oh, okay, if you won't listen on your own, we're going to make you listen. And when they made me listen, I didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. Those of y'all from the South, y'all know what I'm talking about. I know y'all done heard that 50 million times. That is the thing that made me listen. And my mother would say to me on a continuous basis, you need to sit down. You need to sit down somewhere. Basically, she was saying, I need to slow down and listen. But she didn't know why she was telling me that at all. So my people kept telling me I was hard-headed, hard head make a soft behind. Sure made my behind soft. Yeah, dog it. That's for certain. So yeah, I don't want to make it seem like it was all gravy, because it wasn't. It could have been if I would have listened, but I wouldn't listen. So I'm not saying everyone has to experience a situation that causes you to experience, or for it to occur to you as though you're experiencing some pain and suffering. If you listen, usually you don't at all. Life is pretty easy, because life is actually designed to be that way. It's designed to be easy. It really is. That's really how it's designed. But we make it difficult when we don't listen. We just do. So on this journey, I want everybody to just be in a place where you give yourself permission. Because before you do anything in life, you have to give yourself permission to do it. That's why you do it. You say, okay, I'm gonna do this. Even if somebody has a gun to your head, that person didn't make you do anything. If they said do X or I'll shoot you, you said, I'm gonna do X. You actually chose to do X instead of Y, which may have gotten you shot. It's a choice. So what I want you to do, and just remember this, and I'll say this repeatedly, give yourself grace and mercy. It is so important that you give that to yourself. And as you go along this path, you will see how little grace and mercy you actually give yourself. Because sometimes if you listen to your conversation to yourself about yourself around what's going on, there's no grace and mercy in that at all. And so you'll see how little you give yourself. But the important thing is to give yourself grace and mercy. And the beautiful side effect of that is it actually affords you an opportunity or creates a pathway for you to give other people grace and mercy. That's the beautiful thing about it, when you can do that. So on this path, whatever you know, or whatever you think you know, consider you know nothing. Because whenever I go into a new arena where I know that there's knowledge, I go into it as though I know absolutely, positively nothing, zero. I go in there like my brain is just as clear as can be. Because when you go in as though you already know something, then you can never learn anything about what you already know that you don't know. I hope that just made sense. Because you know it. And just be prepared for the trap. And the trap is, and this is how human beings operate, and this is a big trap, to take what you're learning and compare it to what you already know. That's a trap, I promise you. It is a mouse trap. You ever seen a mouse stuck on like that sticky pad? You get stuck like that. It's a trap. Because you will attempt, if it doesn't fit completely, the brain will attempt to look for similarities automatically, just how the brain works. And all that's called survival. That's how we survive in life, which is fine. That's how you get from A to Z. But it's a trap. And so just come in like you just know nothing. And some of you are very, very versed in astrology, which is great. I have nothing against astrology. It works how it works. But this is not that. So if I say to you that your star lives in fire or your star lives in water, don't turn around and say, ooh, I'm a fire sign. I promise you, it has nothing to do with that at all. Zero. Nothing. Not even remotely close. That's the trap. Because the fact that your star lives in fire has absolutely nothing to do with you being a fire sign. Two totally different systems. Completely. And if someone has an experience like a dream, and there was a wolf in the dream, I know within the world of astrology, there's some clear-cut definitions of what a wolf means in a dream. This is not that. I promise you, it will mean something totally different from a traditional African perspective. Doesn't mean the same thing at all. And it could. So let me say that. But more than likely, it doesn't. And that would be a trap. If I say light candles, don't bring in your knowledge of what candles mean into this. Because I promise you, it's going to mean something different. It does not mean the same thing. And within this tradition, which is called Kali, and I'll get into that in a minute, the major color candles you need to be concerned about, and they all have various meanings depending on what ritual you're doing. White candle, red candle, black candle. Those are the three primary color candles. There are other color candles also, but we don't really get into that. Those other candles are like a bonus when you're doing a ritual. That's what they are. So don't bring in the candle thing, because that's a trap, it's a mouse trap. And I'm gonna say don't ask, but don't look for a blue candle to mean whatever it means and whatever, based upon the definition of candles that you have. Because you're doing a blue candle may be required for a specific yara or ritual I may give you to do, and it may mean something in that ritual for you. I can give someone else the same ritual and tell them they have to use an orange candle. So those are like mouse traps that you can fall into. Hold on 1 second. Who in the world is calling me? Give me 1 second. Oh, this is on mute. Hold on a second. Okay. So those are just some mousetraps that you may fall into. So just be aware. And another huge, now this is the biggest mousetrap you can fall in. Matter of fact, this mousetrap is sitting there waiting for probably everybody. And it's right in your face. And we're gonna see who take the cheese and get caught. And that is for you to compare your experience in this class to someone else's. That is probably the biggest mousetrap. Because that mousetrap will invoke emotions. That's why that's the biggest one. That mousetrap will get in your head. Like, well, my ancestor's not doing this, but, you know, Renee's ancestors are doing whatever for her. Why is that? It's just because your ancestors not doing it. It's simple. That's the answer. It's not. But it doesn't mean that they're not working for you. They just might not be doing flips. And that's it. So don't fall into that mousetrap. But I know I'm saying all of these things, and I promise you somebody is gonna fall in every single one of those mousetraps. But it's fine, because I don't view it as you doing something wrong. I just view it as that's just life happening. That's all it is. And that's how life just happened for you. You just fell into a mousetrap. And I'll always pull you out the mousetrap. So yeah, so don't fall into those mousetraps, but they'll come, I'm sure. Now, while you're in this class, the more you give me, the more I can give you. Because I will always speak to what I phrase the listening. The listening is where you are. I always speak to that. And the more you give me, the more I'll give you. And the more I give you, and the more you give me, the more you level up and the quicker you level up. And so the more I can give you. Because believe it or not, there's no set curriculum for these classes. I don't know how they're gonna go from class to class. I just don't. Because it's all based upon each class, the people in each class. That's what it's based on. Some classes I go way like someplace else. In other classes, we just kind of stay like this. But eventually we'll go to someplace else. But a lot of times we're like this. Because at the end of the day, either we all get it or nobody gets it. That's just how it is. Either we all going down a rabbit hole or nobody going down a rabbit hole. Period. So if you tiptoeing around the periphery of the rabbit hole, just kind of peeking in, I promise you can't see nothing until you go down that rabbit hole. It's dark down there. So you need to come on down the rabbit hole, period. Now, I'm about to say time is flying, but I actually started a little late. Pseudo, can you do me a favor and post that the 8 o'clock class will start at 8:30? Because I started a little late.
All right.
Okay, thank you. So now, just buckle up. Be ready to get to just go on an adventure. Every week, you will have a homework assignment. You will not be graded. Well, I'm just joking. You won't be graded at all. But it is imperative that you do the assignments. And how you do the assignments, hold on one second. All right, sorry about that. And you'll notice in these classes, life is always happening. So somebody may come to my door. This is life happening, period. But as I was saying, it's imperative that you do the assignments. Because the purpose of this class is for you to have an intimate connection with your ancestors, for you to pull them closer to you, for you to become related to them, and for them to become related to you, because believe it or not, you're estranged to most of them. Because 99.9% of them, you have no clue who they are, but they know you. Because the ancestors that we know are the ones that the only ancestors we know are the ones that we've heard about who transitioned. The other ones we don't. We have no clue. And there are tens of thousands of them. And so you're going to pull all of them close to you. You have ancestors who have not walked this earth in tens of thousands of years. You're going to pull them close to you. And when you pull them close to you, that's the hotness. That's when you feel like that old ancient power, energy. You can tell it, they old. That energy feels old, but it's strong. And how about having them do work for you? How about that? But we don't consider, for the most part, having those ancestors do work for us. We don't consider, for the most part, calling, like we may have to go into a situation, or life may be happening in a certain way. A lot of times we'll call upon ancestors who might be ill-equipped to deal with the situation that we're dealing with. That happens. Nothing wrong with it. We just do what we know to do. But how about going into a situation and calling upon those ancestors who were great warriors? How about that? And having them ride with you. Totally different experience. Totally different. And as you become connected, many times those old ancestors will begin to tell you who they are. I mean, they'll tell you their names. So you will be able to call them by name, or you'll be able to call an ancestor who represents all of those ancestors who are great warriors. Or if you're a musician, calling upon all those ancestors who were great musicians and have them to stand behind you while you're performing. Totally different experience, I promise you. Totally different. Give you an example. A couple of weeks ago, I performed a ritual. It's a ritual that I do about once a month, maybe once every other month, depending. And when the ritual itself starts, I drum and there's usually two other drummers. This particular Saturday, none of the other drummers were available to attend. So it was all up to me. And usually there's about at least a couple of hours of straight drumming. This particular day, like that morning, I had a very intense workout. Matter of fact, that entire week, I worked out like a beast. And I was sore, especially my upper body. That Saturday morning, I worked out like a beast again. And I found out none of the drummers are coming. Was I concerned about it? Nope. I went to my ancestors and I said, I need for all of my great drummers to come, all of my great musicians to come and stand behind me, because what I am going to undertake will be challenging. I was clear it's going to be challenging because I would be sore. I couldn't take a break. I couldn't stop drumming. And anyone who has played the djembe, you play it, you know, your arms can get sore, blah, blah, blah. Do you know, did my invocation, told my people, this is what I want you to do? I don't want to get tired. I want to have the stamina to drum for the duration of the ritual. I didn't get tired one time, period. Not in the least. And I was able to carry the entire ritual, and that's what I told them I needed to do. Effortlessly. But that's a totally different experience than saying, oh, ancestors, you just kind of calling them. When you start to drill down and narrow down specific groupings of ancestors and have them to stand behind you, give them directives, your life looks totally different. And being able to take those ancestors and send them on assignments for other relatives who may not even be interested in doing any type of ancestor work, but you see that they have a need. That is power. And that is the thing that I have been charged to do, is to return the power back to you. Not from the perspective of like, you know, saying like I'm powerful. Not from like the things that we say that represent power. Like we're kings and queens, black girl magic, blah, blah, blah. But I want to show you what it looks like to be a king. I want to show you what it looks like to actually have black girl magic. What does that really look like? Show you what it is to have melanin in action. Show you what that looks like. Because we can talk about it, but we can never point to it in action. That's different. We can talk about it till we blue in the face, but we don't wield the power of it. Like intentionally wielding the power of it. Because then this opens up the gateway of being able to start to wield the powers of nature. Like when we say that we're gods and goddesses, if you don't have a conversational domain or the ability to wield the powers of nature, are you that? Really? Or just are you that in language, meaning you're just saying that that's what you are? Because as a collective group, it's actually time for us to stop saying or speaking the cliches that we come up with and start being. That's the difference in saying something and being it. Being the cliches. If you can be black girl magic, that's totally different than saying black girl magic. Because just saying black girl magic has no power. None. Zero. Being it has all the power. It's a totally different way to live your life. And those are some of the things you have an opportunity to experience, but you'll notice that as you go down this rabbit hole, all those cliches will become insignificant. I'm just saying them now because that's just stuff we can relate to. because they'll become meaningless to you. Because when you're actually operating out of the full expression of yourself, that's when you are maximizing your power. All that other stuff doesn't matter. It becomes totally meaningless. Completely meaningless. So that's what this class is about. It's about reconnecting you with your power, reconnecting you with your ancestors, reconnecting you with your source. Because we all stand on the shoulders of our ancestors. And really beginning the process of having our families to be whole and complete. Because we have to be responsible for the type of family that our ancestors will be born into. And being responsible for the type of family that you may be born back into again. You come back. Know that you have an opportunity to be responsible for how that family looks, whether that family is whole and complete. Totally different type of family context to be born into. And so that's something for you to consider and to know that that's what you're responsible for, period. And then once we do that, there's a part two. In part two of the ancestral series is creating an ancestral shrine. And when you create that ancestral shrine, that is when you actually empower your ancestors. You actually, it's like giving them juice, strengthening them. Because most of for the mass majority of us, our ancestors are in a weakened state. For a host of reasons, but primarily because no one has really acknowledged them. No one has really called upon them to do anything, really. Some of us have. There's no ancestral shrine for them. Because for many of us, those shrines have been abandoned hundreds of years ago. And so they become weak. Just giving them candles is food for them. Incense, liquor. But it's important to strengthen them because the stronger they are, the more they can take on. So we'll create an ancestor shrine, and that's a phenomenal class, a fun class, a lot of fun. And not only will you create the shrine, I'll make sure that I give you rituals so you'll learn how to work the shrine. It's very important because you become the keeper of the shrine at that point. And when you have a shrine, if you see anything happening in your family, just go to your shrine, it's handled. Now, I don't want to make it seem like, oh, it's handled like, poof, you see results right away, but your people will go to work on it. And some things that we need done takes some time to actually get done. They're not going to be done overnight. And other things we need, you see a result immediately. Other times it takes time. It's a huge undertaking. Because at the end of the day, we still have free will. So your ancestors are never going, if you want them to do something for someone, change a behavior or something like that, there's specific language I can give you to help that out, and I will give it to you. But for the most part, if someone has a behavior that doesn't work, your ancestors will put things before them, send them messages, do all of that stuff. At the end of the day, they still have free will. But there's ways to get around that, because your ancestors are never going to take you over and you just become a robot and you just start doing whatever they say do. That it doesn't work like that at all. In the same way that your ancestors have been giving you directives for who knows how long, when you have them to do something for someone else, for example, who has a behavior that doesn't work, they're going to give them directives. And if you were stubborn and ignored it, there's a possibility that they may do the same thing. But there's certain language you can put in that prayer to actually have that work. And I'll give that to you at some point. And then there's a part 3. In part 3, I'll teach you how to create spiritual tools using your ancestor shrine. And the most important part of part 3 is an ancestralization. And that is a ritual that is designed to perform the proper burial rites for your ancestors so they can go home. And home is the world of ancestors, which is where we've all come from. And if they have not had those rites performed, they have not gone home. Actually, there's a huge probability they haven't gone home, put it like that. 9 times out of 10, they haven't. And so you have an opportunity to send them home. And you will see how that connection that you have with your ancestors is strengthened even more. Because during this whole process, it's a cleansing process. So that the ills of this world that they may carry into the other world during the ancestralization process, you'll see when we do it, there's a point where we have them to be cleansed of anything that doesn't serve them. And that goes from sickness to behavior, whatever it is. Cleanse them of that. And then there's a part 4. I haven't fleshed out the part 4 yet, but I haven't really put a whole lot of thought into it. That's a better way to put it. But part 4 is where we're going to start using the power of our shrines in the setting of groups. So you can see how powerful they operate and how powerful we really are collectively. If we say that we want justice to be served and is not being served, do a ritual and watch it be served. If you see one of our brothers or sisters, whomever it is, who've been murdered or experienced some form of brutality from law enforcement, and you see these people keep getting over, you can do a ritual. From the perspective of group to get all that stuff handled so justice can be served. But you have to know the language to use. You have to know the ritual to do. To have all that happen. And you don't have to brag about it, just do it. And just watch justice be served. Because it's important that as a people, we begin to use our strengths. We talk about our strengths, but we don't use them. We'll say that we're the most spiritual people on the planet. I'm sure none of y'all will disagree with that. But how many of you use that? I mean, use it to make a difference in the world. Some of us, we use it in our personal lives. But if we are who we say we are, then we need to be that. Because it's not self-serving at all. And later, I'll talk about the spells that we actually cast on each other as a people and don't even know we cast these spells on each other. Oof. And we trap, and then we complain about each other over something that we are responsible for. And we cast these spells. That's why, and this is it's all relative, so I'm putting quotes around this. That's why it occurs at times. Like men and women don't get along, like oil and water. We have to be responsible for the spells that we cast on each other in language, collectively, being in agreement, spell. Now, how many people are willing to be responsible for that? And so we have to go to work on dismantling that spell. And other spells that we're under, but we'll get into all of that when we get to P4. There's a lot of spells we under. Oof. Mm-hmm. And we sit and we say, you know, I don't even want to go down this road. Put it like this. Anything that you have a constant complaint about as it relates to us collectively, I want you to consider that a spell may exist. Consider that. For example, who told you black women can't get along with each other? Who told you that? And why can I go other places and black women get along fine? In the world, rather. Ain't no problem. But it's something about being here that causes a divide, or the perception of a divide. Why is that? Where'd that come from? What's the origins of it? Just consider, I'm not saying it is or it is not, just consider that that's a spell. Consider that. So that's what part 4 is about. It's ritual from the perspective of group. Now, when you get to part 4 of the ancestral series, everybody can't take that class. That class will be divination only, because you may not be spiritually mature enough to deal with and handle the rituals that you will do. So if you're not, you're just not. I mean, it doesn't mean you'll never be. So it doesn't mean that. You just said the moment you're just not. There may be something else that you need to learn, or you need to develop yourself in a way. And once you do that, you're fine. So anyway, that's that. I know I said a lot. Any questions about anything I've said so far? If not, we can get into, we can start class.
One question, Chief.
Yes.
What my question is, how can we get caught up in these spells unknowingly? Is it through bloodline or is it just through some energy? How do we get caught up in these spells unknowingly?
All of the above.
I got it. Copy.
All of the above. Some of us actually have some spells that were put on our families by someone else for whatever reason. And some of it is actually the family member's fault. They did something that they shouldn't have done.
Right.
And that spell impacts, it might be impacting all the men in the family or the majority of the men. And you may see rampant alcoholism or something.
Mm-hmm.
And just from generation to generation to generation. And sometimes if you look, I've looked and I've seen, somebody actually did something. Sometimes I can actually see the year in which they've done it. And I can see that sometimes I can see it was a male and it was an uncle, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's a female who did something. Sometimes it's a male, but it's impacting the men in the family.
Right.
And we had nothing to do with that at all. And here we come along and we're being impacted by it.
Exactly.
And so those are things that exist that have to be like dismantled or resolved. If you see something in your family that is rampant, that shouldn't be, consider that that's probably something that someone put there a long time ago that's just impacting you. You can take poverty, for example. If you have a family that is just poverty stricken, every time somebody get a little piece of change, it just goes away.
Gone.
Consider that there's a strong possibility that there's something that somebody did. Or just mere fact that your family turned that bad tradition. I work with people who, one second. I work with
In and out. Going in and out. Can't hear you.
Oh, okay.
You sound a bit foggy.
Okay, let me.
You got the smoker's voice.
Okay.
Worse than that.
You have the crazy.
I sound like what's his name? Man, South Park. I think that's his name. Hold on, wait a second. Let me jump.
Like you have the thing to your throat.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so as I was saying, you may have family members who've done something that they shouldn't have done to somebody, and the person was vengeful, and they went to an elder somewhere, and they put something on your family. It could be just that simple.
Right.
But that stuff can be removed. Also, and I talked about poverty. I mean, sometimes we're in poverty for that reason. Sometimes you find poverty or you even find issues in the family because someone has walked away from tradition. And they did not walk away properly. It's a protocol. You can't just take a shrine and just throw it away. Stuff you need to do first if you choose to walk away.
Right.
So for example, there's a woman that I was working with. When she came for a divination, I didn't know she was from, I didn't know she was Ghanaian, but it came up in the divination. And I told her, I said, whoa, I said, your people, I said, there's a problem in your family because your family walked away from tradition. And she said, yes, they did. That's why they came to the US to escape tradition. So they were running from tradition.
Wow. Wow.
Like leaving Ghana was gonna excuse their responsibilities. And they dove headfirst into Christianity. Now, there were these specific spirits that her family, they were water spirits that her family worked with. And she comes from a long line of healers. I mean, thousands and thousands of years of healers. She knows that. Anybody who's been to, anyone who's been to Africa and you've gone out with the family and you've gone to their original family home, because they have those, where their family began, and that property, in most instances, is still being maintained. Someone still lives there. They will have shrines, and these shrines have been there for thousands of years. I've seen some of them. And they walk away from that. And so for this particular woman, when her family walked away, they just walked away. So it's like if you're married and you think your marriage is going great and you come home, ain't nothing in your house. Your woman go home. You're not going to be like, oh, well, hey, you know, that's just life. Nah. Something emotional is going to happen. Yes, Mike, they walked away from all that powerful white Jesus. Absolutely. And so the spirits that they worked with were like, became angry. And they kept calling them back. And they wouldn't listen. So they became even more angry. I can't say they were angry initially, but they became very angry because nobody would listen. So as a result, they actually cursed the women in her family. In hopes that somebody will listen. And they cursed the women with ovarian cancer. Woman after woman after woman after woman after woman died of ovarian cancer. And this woman called me because she wanted to know, now she didn't know any of this stuff was going on. She was having similar issues. And she had a biopsy to determine if she had ovarian cancer. And she was calling me to see what the results would be. And so something told me to take this issue to my elders also. So I called my elders, told them what was going on. So they divined as well. And they actually saw more detail than I did. And they told me to tell her exactly what to do in order for that curse to go away. She didn't even have to start practicing. She just had to acknowledge those spirits. And at the end of the day, she said no. She would prefer, including her and future generations, to continue to be plagued with ovarian cancer and die. None of those women survived at all. None. And all my elders were going to do is do some rituals for her, because they said 9 times out of 10, the same spirits, because they're in Ghana, she said the same spirits that her people work with, they work with them also. So they knew what to do. And all they were going to do is do some rituals and then tell her what she needs to do moving forward. And she said no. Now, this is somebody who will go out and do ayahuasca till she blue in the face. See, psychosis just don't make sense. Yeah, you're right. The spell is deep.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense.
It is deep.
Makes sense.
So some of us are dealing with family issues because our family walked away from tradition. They were healers and worked with very powerful spirits. And it's not burdensome to work with spirits. I work with a ton of them, a lot. And it's not burdensome at all. But they chose Christianity. It's just what they chose. So some of us are dealing with family issues because of that. And if that's the case, that needs to be cleaned up. And I always say, y'all hear me say this, look who's winning and look who's losing. And we losing because we're not operating out of our strengths. Europeans winning because they're operating out of their strength.
Mm-hmm.
Which is war, devastation, destruction, conquer, blah, 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 all of that. They operate out of that because that's their strength. So they're winning because we're not operating out of ours. And when we operate out of our strengths, we're not operating out of our strengths with wisdom. That's why we keep getting tricked, because we're not being wise. Because we have a misconception of what forgiveness is. You can forgive somebody and not deal with them. That's easy. But we forgive the wrong people and make it seem like they just families, bring them on in, and they do the same thing over and over, and we just go, oh man, we just want you just to do right. All right. Okay, we'll do right. I promise you, we're gonna do right. It's the same trick. We keep falling for the same trick because we're not using our strengths with wisdom. Because we're using them outside of tradition. That's the problem. Because we should be seeking divination before we forgive anybody. Not saying you don't forgive them, because you'll forgive them, but how does that look? That's our strength, is working with spirit. But we just forgive them for the sake of forgiving people, I don't know. And then, this is the funny thing, you won't forgive us. Anyway, I don't want to go down that road. That's a whole nother conversation.
Chief, I have a question, if I may.
Yes.
So earlier, you mentioned that spirits, when we pass over, that we come back. And then you also mentioned that when we come back, but then some of us, when we pass, we don't get the proper home going.
Correct.
So when we don't get the proper home going, are we still able to come back, or do we have to? Okay.
Yeah, I had to question that, and I saw that there were people who actually did come back. Yeah.
Okay.
I wondered about that also.
So is it like they still come back with the same patterns and, or?
Yeah, they'll repeat. Those patterns can be repeated. Yeah.
Okay.
They're still carrying that stuff. And then sometimes a lot of that trauma is dumped on us.
Right.
Because we have come to clean up the trauma. And so we carry it in this lifetime, clean it up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Right, excellent question. Okay. Now, let me see. I guess we can start. Y'all ready to start class? We can start class.
I have a question.
Yes.
So what does the proper burial, what does that look like? Like, what is it?
You know what? Give me 1 second, because I just got a signal that my battery on my laptop is going dead. So let me get the plug. Give me 1 second. I'll answer that question.
Okay. I gotta see who's chatting. Let's do this.
Okay. So I'm gonna say what it looks like from a traditional perspective, and then if time permits, I'll talk about what it looks like based upon what we have to do here, because what we have to do here looks different. So traditionally, what happens, and it depends upon who has transitioned.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the same. You wouldn't perform the same burial rites for everyone.
Okay.
If you are just a lay person, those burial rites are simple. There is the rituals that the mother's side of the family performs, the rituals that the father's side of the family performs and they perform these rituals separately.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't perform them at the same time or the same weekend. They're different days that they perform. And your burial should happen. The funeral rites will last for probably a month. And every week is something different. Every 7 days, there's a different set of rituals that are done for the person who's transitioned. And so that's why 1 week, let me back up. So in the beginning, I'm starting from the beginning. In the beginning, the family actually goes to identify the body, because they are the only ones who can give proof. And then the family actually cleans the body themselves. Nobody else touches that body. Taboo. Nobody should touch that body except the family. That family cleans that body from head to toe. Once they've cleaned the body, they wrap the body. There's a whole process around that. So the family actually prepares the body for burial, not, morticians.
Okay.
At all. Also, Cremation is a taboo. That's somebody else's stuff. That ain't our stuff. But within tradition, cremation is a taboo itself. And in tradition, cremation angers the ancestors. They become very angry.
Wow. Crap.
And when you're living in tradition, it doesn't matter whether you practice tradition or not. You cannot cremate someone on that particular soil or in that land. The ancestors become very angry. There was a man, there's a Chinese man who died a few years ago up in northern Ghana where my tradition is. When he died, the Chinese had him cremated. That cremation created a drought. Now, anyone who has been on the continent during rainy season, you know it is like a monsoon 3 to 4 days a week. There's no such thing as it's going to drizzle outside. Either it is a monsoon or it's nothing. And it was a drought, no rain. So the elders became concerned and they started divining. And they found out that through divination that someone died, the Chinese man died, he was cremated. So they went to confirm it, and yes, that's what happened. And so the ancestors they were angry because of that. And so they had to perform specific rituals in order to appease the ancestors. And once they did those rituals, it started raining again. So cremation is someone else's thing. Now, I haven't studied every tradition in Africa. Be clear about that. But the ones that I have never seen anything remotely close to cremation at all. Not even close.
Okay.
I haven't, meaning I have not even a fire around the burial. That's not me, not even close. So anyway, so cremation is a taboo. But so if you're just a lay person, mother side, father side performs ritual, the family actually prepares the body for burial, and then the burial process starts. And then after you're buried, because actually you call, during the ritual, you call upon Nauni and you have Nauni actually take, and I'll explain who Nauni is in a minute, actually take that ancestor to the world of ancestors. Basically is what you do. But there's a whole ritual process around that. And so that's basically like the Cliff Notes version of how that works. Now, if you're a spiritual elder, there's a totally different burial process for you. Totally different. Totally different. Rituals, all that stuff is different. And depending upon what kind of elder you are, if you are like a Jinwari Ba or something like that, who are spiritual healers, they have their own rituals that they perform. I don't know what those rituals are. And then you're buried a certain way. There's a whole process around that. Now, let me go back. Let me back up a little bit. Because I left something out. Once you're buried and those rituals are over, 40 days later, the family comes together again and you perform some additional rituals and you do prayers for the person who's transitioned. And then after those 40 days, once a year, the family comes together and does rituals and prayers for that person. So that's how that works. And that works across the board, regardless of whether you spiritual elder, you're a chief, it doesn't matter. And I know that within some of the groups of elders, those elders are buried in a chamber. And they're buried sitting up. You don't lay them down. They have to sit upright. And there's specific rituals performed for them. Now, the thing about spiritual elders is this. If you're an elder and you're a spiritual elder, you might not be ready to go. And you might be trying to hang around. So if you are hanging, you can go. During the burial process. So there's this guy, I met him about maybe about a year ago or so. He's an elder in one of the communities, and he performs a lot of the burials. So there was this elder who was a spiritual elder who had transitioned, and one of the things they do is they'll stand where the grave or the chamber, whatever that thing is, they'll stand there and they'll take dirt and they'll do this. They'll take the dirt and throw it behind their backs. And they'll say, if they know that the person's not ready to go, they'll say that I'm going to bury you today or something like that. They have to do that. And usually once they do that, the elder's like, all right, bury me. But if they refuse, like with this particular elder, who was doing the burial process, the person that they were burying refused to go. So when you refuse to go, you have to bury the elder who is performing the burial process. You have to bury him along with the person who transitioned. Oh, y'all can't hear me? It's going in and out again.
No, I good. You're good here.
Okay.
I hear you good here.
Okay. So so this particular elder didn't want to go. So the elder who's performing the burial, he said, all right, bury me with him. So he laid down and they buried him, put dirt over him. While he was buried with that elder, he performed whatever he needed to perform. And he met everybody later at the home of the family where everybody met. I want y'all to think about that for a second. He was buried alive and met everybody later at the home of the person who transitioned to continue the ceremonies. Because there's something that's called vanishing medicine. It translates into vanishing medicine that those elders carry. And they're able to teleport themselves from one place to another place.
Oh, so astral projection.
So when you're a spiritual elder, you may not want to go. If you don't want to go, that'll be handled. That's what I mean by we don't operate in the fullness of our strengths. We don't. In part because we don't know what they are. And secondly, because we view it as fantasy a lot of times.
Sci-fi.
That's how we view it. It's like, I remember, so my first teacher was Malidoma Somé. And he wrote this in, I think, a book, and then he told us this story also. When he came to the States and he saw Star Trek. So he went back to Burkina Faso. And he sat with the elders. He went got a television, and he brought a video of Star Trek. And he bought a VCR. For those of you who are a little older, you know what a VCR is. With a DVD player. Wasn't live streaming either. And he sat with his elders, and he showed them the video. And he said, "Oh," like they were teleporting from one place to another. They're like, "Oh, so the white man can do that also," because it's normal for them.
Mm.
It's not something that's out of the ordinary. But when you go down this rabbit hole and you go deep enough, depending upon the medicine that you carry, you learn how to do all of that stuff. Just like you all may have read, if you all read his book, I know in his book he talks about his uncle, grandfather, somebody. His grandfather was sitting under a tree. A bird came, pooped on him, and he said some simple words. The bird fell out of the tree dead. I can tell you for certain, I've seen that happen, where a few words are said and an animal actually starts dying. And some of the people who've been to Ghana with me have seen it also. So that's real. And it's just a simple chant. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less than that. But we're getting there. We'll be operating out of our power soon enough. I'm not worried about that. But anyway, let me move on because I haven't even started class yet. I know y'all tricks, trying to delay it. I'm just joking. So I think I covered most of it in regards to a spiritual elder. There's specific rituals that are performed that are totally different. If you are a chief, a whole nother set of rituals are performed during your burial that are totally different than the other rituals. And depending upon what kind of chief you are, because there's a spiritual chief and then there's one that's not. But nevertheless, if you're a chief, your daughter and your son, when you transition, they take your place and become chiefs. However, it has to be a daughter. It has to be two children from two different wives. It can't be from the same wife. That's taboo. And so it's vital that is one from one wife, one from the other. It has to be a male and a female. It cannot be two men. It cannot be two females. Because we have to get that one of the purposes for that is to make sure, to ensure that the bloodline stays intact and that the power is evenly distributed throughout the families. Because in tradition, bloodlines are very important. They're not important to us because we don't know how important they are. We just go out and just say how it is. We just have sex with anybody, have a baby from anybody, have no clue about their bloodline. Zero. None. We have no clue of what we're introducing into our bloodlines. None. Because we don't know, and we don't care because we don't know to care. Because we have been told that it doesn't matter who you're with, it's all about love. Well, I got a surprise for you. In tradition, it ain't all about love. Love comes later, but love isn't on the front end. It's just not. There are certain ethnic groups that cannot marry. It's taboo. And if they marry, their children will be born with some type of genetic deficiency. It's taboo. Because those bloodlines cannot mix. And so we need to begin to become serious about our bloodlines. Because you may come from a bloodline where there's a long line of priests and priestesses. Well, you don't want to mix that bloodline with the bloodline of a long line of thieves and robbers and murderers. You don't want to do that. Because that will possibly produce children who carry the medicine to be a priest or priestess, along with being thieves and murderers and robbers and stuff. That's a bad combination. So we need to be aware of what we're introducing into the world and be responsible for it. But we're irresponsible because we don't know. And we carry a lot of that thinking and that way of being up until maybe it ended with our parents' generations. Because I promise you, if you talk to your parents, they'll say that either their grandparents or great-grandparents always questioned who the person was dating, who they people, because they know you can't bring that into that family. Because if you introduce that into the bloodline, it impacts generations to come. They're clear about that. But we bought into somebody else's stuff and said we can just be with whomever we want to be with because we love them. And we ask why we keep losing. We can't even get reproduction right. And that's the easiest out of all of them to get right. We'll write that off as just old, you know, people don't care about that stuff no more, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And the whole time you're diminishing the power of your bloodline. How about that? Anyway, that's that. I can talk about that all night too. All right, let's get class started. We got about 8 minutes of class tonight. So y'all ready? Man, I have to go over the who, what, when, where, how of ancestors. What's an ancestor? Blah blah blah. I'll probably do that next week because we're running out of time. Because I need to show you all how to do an invocation and give you the homework, and we'll go over all the other details next week. So this is what we're gonna do for homework. I'm gonna tell you the homework, and then I'm gonna tell you how to do it. So for homework, the only thing I want you to do every morning, you get up before you leave the house, even if you are running late, you will see how your ancestors will clear the pathway so you won't be late. Also, if you are late, nothing happens. You'll see. You're going to call your ancestors and you're going to ask them to walk with you for the day. You're going to do that every morning. And you're going to tell them to give you evidence to show you that they're with you, that they're walking with you. So in this assignment, you need to pay very close attention and be very present to what you experience throughout the day, meaning how you feel, the sensations you may feel when you're doing the invocation, or certain sensations you may feel throughout the day, certain things you may see throughout the day. Meaning there's some people who see ladybugs in the dead of winter, and ladybugs hibernate. They shouldn't be out. They're sleeping. But they hibernate during the winter, and people will see ladybugs who will fly on them and crawl on them, whatever. So look for signs. They will send you signs. And right now, you just want them to walk with you. That's it. Do that every morning. And then we'll go into detail about those experiences next week after we start class. Now, this is how you do your invocation. There's two invocations that you can do. One is with a bowl and water. That's the one that you all will do. There's more than two, but these are the two that I primarily use. And the second one is with ash, water, white ash, water. Oh, let me back up. Not ash from some burnt incense. Not that one. It has to be ash from wood. So I know some of y'all have a pound of incense ash. Don't use that one. So ash from wood, white ash in particular. Water, a rock, and a stick. And I'll go over that ritual next week. But I'm going to give you the one that's the easiest. And that's, you just need a bowl and you need water. And you need to get a bowl that you've never used. So it needs to be a new bowl. Made out of natural material. And no, plastic is not natural. Just saying. So like wood, glass, clay is fine. If you have a calabash, that's fine too. Okay. Now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna put water in the bowl. And so you don't want to use City Punch. And those of you who don't know what City Punch is, that's water out of the faucet. That's City Punch. It's mixed with all kind of stuff. You don't even know. Fluoride, chlorine, blah, 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 all of that stuff. Give me 1 second. Now, what you're gonna do is when you put some water in the bowl, you're gonna hold the bowl. Give me 1 second. Let me go get a bowl real quick so you can see. Let me demonstrate. Okay. So now this is a bowl. Bowl like this size is fine. Put water in the bowl. Imagine I'm pouring water. Then what you want to do is you want to take your hand, put it in the bowl, and you want to flick water. Do that. As you're flicking water, you want to call the names of all of the ancestors that you know. Once you have called the names of all the ancestors that you know, you want to tell your ancestors to bring forth the ancestors that you know, but you have forgotten. Once you tell them that, you want to say to them to only bring forth the ancestors who are clean. Because there's some ancestors who are not clean, and we'll go over those later. For example, there's some taboos that will constitute, that if violated, will constitute an unclean ancestor. Like an ancestor who has committed suicide willingly. That's an unclean ancestor. They will roam the earth through eternity. There's no turning back. There's no, you can't save them, nothing. They are off limits. Your ancestors won't even go near them. So when you call them, you want to, in case they start coming, you want to make sure your ancestors, you know, you turn around. Take your nasty tail back wherever you came from. Thank you. Now, once you tell your ancestors to bring forth those ancestors that you know that you've forgotten, only ancestors who are clean, you want to call your great-grandmothers and great-grandfathers. And you can just say great-grandmother, you know, you're calling forth, say, I'm calling forth my great-grandmother and great-grandfather. You can tell your ancestors to go get them and bring them if they're not there already, but you're specifically calling them. That includes your grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, great-great-great-great-greats, all the way back. Now, once you've done that, you want to say to them, and you only have to do this part, you're only going to do one time. So there's two parts. There's this first part, you're only going to do it once. You don't have to do it twice. So what you're going to say to them is you're going to say that you don't know them, but they know you. You are their granddaughter or grandson, whichever. And you have come here to reestablish something that has been lost, to reestablish a tradition. That has been practiced, or that has been practiced in your family since the beginning, but it currently does not. It's currently not being practiced. Something like that. Put that in your own words. And that you have come here to establish a partnership between you and them, between this world and the other world. And that you cannot fulfill upon returning your family to tradition, or returning your family back to its greatness without their partnership. And so that's it for that one. Because all you want to do with the first part of the prayer is begin to reestablish and let them know that you come to reestablish a connection that's been broken. To reestablish partnership between you and them, between this world and the other world. That's why you're here. And that you need their assistance. Now, so now this is the second part. And the second part is a part that you're going to do every morning. Is you're going to simply tell your ancestors to walk with you for the day. And to give you a sign to show you that they're with you, to prove to you that they're walking with you. And that's it. Now, the entire time that you are speaking, you're actually just flicking a little water. Then the whole time, don't stop flicking water until you stop talking. Now, flicking water doesn't mean you don't take your hand in a bowl like this and just grab water and throw water. Don't make a mess. You only need to dip, flick, dip, flick. That's all you have to do. Now, if you want to make a mess of it, have at it. I'm just saying. So you got to clean up. I'm trying to save you. And so you gotta remember every morning, you're gonna do that. Pay very close attention to how your day goes. And don't worry about feeling something. Because for some of you, the moment you stick your hand in that water, your ancestors are gonna start riding you like a rented mule. They're gonna get all over you. And others, you're gonna stick your hand in that water, you ain't gonna feel nothing but a wet hand. That's it. Don't be concerned. Don't be alarmed. It's just what your people are doing. And this is, I'm going to say something, but this does not apply across the board. If you are a very dry and emotionless person, don't expect your ancestors not to be dry and emotionless. Because some people do. And they the driest people in the world. Yeah, okay, whatever. But you could be the driest person in the world and they jump all over you. That could happen. No, don't ask them anything in particular. Just tell them to show you. That's the beauty of it. Because if you say, show me a white car, I promise you on your way to work, you're gonna see 20,000 white cars. That's my ancestors, baby. You know how y'all gonna roll. Nah, don't tell them nothing. Let them do it. And tell them to show you in a way that you can get it, that you recognize that this is something. And some of you are going to come to class and say, I didn't recognize nothing. And as we step through each day, I'll show you where they already showed you. So yeah. So that's that. That's the assignment. Now the assignment is going to be posted. So if you missed out on anything that I said, the assignment will be posted. It'll be posted tonight, correct? Were you taking notes, Katali? Who's taking notes? What's tonight? Thursday?
I'll take a note. Yeah,
Huh? The what now?
I got it.
Okay, I'm just
I got
checking.
it.
I got you. I just wasn't sure who was taking notes.
Already.
Okay. Yeah, so that'll be posted. If you didn't get it all, it'll be posted. So, all right. Class will start next week. I know that this was a ploy by all of you to have class not start. I know. But I promise you it's going to start next week. Come hell or high water. How about that? All right. That's all I got. I got a class that should have started 10 minutes ago. So y'all have a fantastic night. Pay very close attention because I'm thinking about starting class at 6:30 instead. Because I find myself rushing like I was today. I was out, got caught up in traffic and blah, blah, blah. So I was rushing to get back home. So I may change the time to 6:30. So pay very close attention in the Google Classroom for a notification. So I may change it to 6:30. Okay. Okie dokie. That's all I got. So y'all have a fantastic night. Enjoy this ritual. This is actually one of my favorites because it is the beginning. Even if some of you may have done this ritual before, because you had divination, I may have told you to do it then, or part of it, make sure that the main part that you do is tell those ancestors to walk with you through a week. Very important that you do that part. Because if you've done it before, they may show up a little differently this time. And Katali, to answer your question, yes, dude needs to do it with the bowl and water. So you follow that. Okay, dokie. All right, that's all I got. Oh, wait 1 second. Well, wait a minute. Y'all typing.
Chief, may I add some admin?
Yeah. Ooh, y'all typing fast. Hold on. Yeah, you go ahead. You add that while I'm reading these things.
Yes, I just wanted to add for everybody in class, if you have any questions throughout the week, since you haven't been assigned Kareems yet, that would be your support teachers, please email arcquestion0322@gmail.com. I will post that into the classroom again so that you have the address. The address should also be in the welcome message that was in the classroom. So any questions you have, admin questions or class related, please go ahead and email that address for now.
Excellent. Yes, and everyone will have a Kareem by next week.
Cool.
Okay. And from now, I'm not gonna say that. I was about to. No. Okay. All right. Y'all have a fantastic night. See y'all next week.
All right, Chief. Thanks, man. Give thanks.
Okay. All right. Good night.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.